Good evening, and welcome to this regular meeting of the Northside Board of Trustees. Before calling this meeting to order, the board would like to take just a moment to briefly review some of the rules for conducting our meeting. The order of business for this meeting is set out in the agenda. One item that you may notice on the agenda is the consent agenda. This item includes items that are considered routine and/or are of a recurring nature. All the items listed under the consent agenda will be acted upon in one motion. If there is a consent agenda item which anyone here would like to address, please sign up to speak to that item and we will pull it from the consent motion and discuss it separately. The purpose of our meeting is to conduct board business, and for that reason it is held in public. It is not a public forum, however, we do provide the opportunity for audience participation. If there is anyone who would like to address the board during an agenda item or citizens to be heard portion of the agenda, we ask that you please register on the sign-up sheet located at the entrance to this room. This is so we don't overlook anyone who would like to speak to the board. We will review the rules for addressing the board later in the meeting. Is there anyone here who would like to sign up to an agenda item and has not done so? Okay, the meeting will then be officially called to order. Please stand as Mrs. Saldana. Please stand and bow your heads as Mrs. Saldana leads us in the invocation and pledges of allegiance.
Almighty and merciful God, we ask your guidance and blessings upon this board, students, parents, patrons, teachers, and administrators as we are assembled here this evening in the common pursuit of this great nation's wealth, our children. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Okay, thank you, Trustee Saldana. All right, Dr. Woods.
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Freeman. Several items to report to the board. I think the members of the board are somewhat familiar that at the end of last month, we held the annual Gerlach Stock Show and sale, and Ms. Chumley may want to be more specific about this, but to say that they were successful is, I think, a massive understatement. And thanks to the staff at our agriculture magnet and the literally dozens of volunteers it takes to pull off a large-scale event like that. A lot of money was raised for scholarships for students associated with that program. I was really fortunate a couple of weeks after that to be able to attend our first ever esports championship. We probably had 370 or so students involved, and while I didn't understand a thing about the games they were playing whatsoever, even when a kid really tried to tutor me, right? He was doing his best, but the enthusiasm and the energy of the students in the room was absolutely amazing. We do not have every secondary school participating. I think we added about 50% more after that event because we had staff there kind of looking to see what it was all about. So thanks to Matt, Patty, and again, dozens of volunteers for making that happen. I was also able to attend recently a large-scale JROTC drill event. Our drill teams are preparing for national competition, which happens in April in Florida. We actually have 7 teams going to that national event, and it was really impressive. I've seen lots of drill events over the years being associated with high schools, but it was truly impressive event. We had teams from all over South and Central Texas there. And the instructors were telling me how appreciative they are that kids were actually getting some preparation for that nationals meet. We have several Northside Elementary students recognized as finalists in the Texas Cavaliers River Parade Art Contest, including, for not the first time, the grand prize winner is from Lewis Elementary. The art teacher at Lewis really prides herself on that. We've had several winners from Lewis Elementary. And so not the least of which among the prizes for this particular student is Whataburger for a year. I know that was high on the list, but also $5,000 for the school's art program, and the student's artwork is featured, and she'll ride on the Grand Marshal Parade float. So it's a really neat event for a fifth grader for sure. I want to thank Teresa Cuellar, the principal at John Jay High School. She and her staff put on a really outstanding event for Dr. Mario Torres, who's the new dean of the College of Education at UTSA. He is an alum of Northside of John Jay, and they asked if we could do something there, and I think he was blown over by the student participation. It was a really nice event. So thanks to Teresa and her staff for that. Thanks to Cassandra Miranda, we had I think a really nice donor recognition event recently, and for all the foundation donors, people who contribute their time and their dollars to our foundation. So thanks to them. Not going to give a lot of details on this one, but we will be visiting 3 campuses tomorrow to surprise 3 educators with HEB Excellence in Education award winners. So that's about all I'll say about that. But it'll be exciting for those folks and the staff and students that they work with. So want to close back with video moment. It's been a long time since we've been in this room for a meeting, and this is, I think, a really good one. So again, not going to give a whole lot away. This looks at actually the end of a freshman basketball game at Holmes High School. And I know that seems like an odd thing to make a video moment about, but you will see why.
Joaquin he's a senior. He's getting ready to leave Holmes High School, graduate this spring. Super happy and social guy, super friendly, super social, super loving. Now that we did have so many people back on campus in the last 2 years, we've had our students miss out on things like prom and homecoming, just different social events that he would have been able to been a part of. And I didn't know what the plan was this year and how things would be, so I wanted to give him something that I could control, that for sure he would have to remember, and for he and his family to be able to celebrate him one time, at least before the school year was over. So
when Coach came up to me and he was like, I feel like he can do really well. And I just thought that was it, that he was just gonna do like maybe water the towels or throw the ball around here and there. And me and my daughter had been coming to his games, and then Coach approached us about, well, the last game of the season, we want him to go ahead and suit up. And it was kind of like a little dream of ours that especially I had for him.
I had seen him in PE and seen that he enjoyed playing basketball and shooting the basketball around. So just talk to him and see if that was something they'd be interested in, and they were. They wanted to do that. So Joaquin came to all of our home games here at Holmes High School. Tuesday night was our last game of the season. It was the final one for the freshman and JV program. Joaquin came in and he was in full uniform. Typically, he wears one of our older varsity uniforms and he sits next to me. But this game, he was wearing the full uniform that the freshmen wear to their games. Our stands were full. We've never had the attendance that we had. When the game started, Joaquin did jump ball. Really exciting. My heart was pounding for him. I was super excited, and I mean, it was exactly what I wanted. I wanted that one special moment for Joaquin.
I just thought, like, wow, this is an amazing opportunity, not just for him, but for a lot of kids that come through the doors of Holmes that do have dreams. I was very proud and emotional. I just thought about that little boy that I brought home from the hospital, to be able to see Joaquin in his prime, in his best of Joaquin moment. And I think a lot of it is just not so much pride, but just the joy that was felt in that room, not just from Joaquin, but everybody that was able to provide that for him.
I don't know that needs much postscript. Ms. Freeman, that concludes the superintendent's report, and I'll end, I guess, by apologizing to Dr. Jordan that we completely skipped her agenda item at the beginning of the meeting, but we will come back to it. Sorry about that.
That would have been my thing that I did it. You didn't have to take credit for that. Since it's more of it flows better, I thought I'd go into board members' reports, and then we'll start with the public hearing. Are there any board members that have any comments?
Yes, I do. I would like to congratulate all our students and athletes in the playoffs right now. As you know, several of our schools are in the basketball playoffs, and we just want to wish them well. I also would like to thank Principal Lopez from Meade Elementary. They had a wonderful welcome and celebration for me for during Board Appreciation Month last month, and so they really went out of their way to show me what an awesome elementary school Meade is. And I think Dr. Woods has already mentioned recognition of Dr. Mario Torres. John Jay did a fabulous job welcoming him. It was just awesome. And finally, I would like to recognize someone that is probably not even here, but knows everything that's going on in our district, and that's Terry Pena. She is a retiree and has a retiree Facebook section, and she is keeping us informed of all of the neat things that go on in Northside. When the swimmers and the divers were going to the state meet, she had them there with their pictures. When something is going on in the community, she has it there. The food distribution, she's got the dates there so that we can register. She's just doing an incredible job representing Northside, and she deserves our thanks and recognition. So Terry Pena, thank you.
That's neat.
Thank you, Trustee Saldana. Dr. Harrell?
Thank you very much. I do, Dr. Woods, when you were talking about the esports, and I had heard about, it's my password this one. Sorry, we take care of each other. I was thinking about that when you watch the news and they report all the basketball scores and all the baseball scores, the turnout for esports, I think parallels. I mean, it's the same kind of cheering and hurrahing and all that kind of stuff. I wish they'd do a section. So that's kind of my next thing, is to see if maybe they can squeeze out a little bit for esports on the news. I think it's the next big, that and robotics competitions, things like that. It would be wonderful, but you know me. I wanted to also thank Jones Magnet School and Jones Middle School for inviting me out during our wonderful celebration of being a trustee, which is always a gift in Northside. And I will tell you, the leadership team, we went into almost every single classroom. And the kids working together in teams, in small groups. I really did not hear teachers doing a lot of talking. I heard a lot of student talking and students solving and students thinking and planning. And it was really incredible. I was there for a long time, and I really, really left going, I would want my grandchildren here. I loved every minute. So kudos to the leadership staff and the teachers and the students, and especially those who come. They start school early, not officially start, but they open the doors early to do everything from knitting to yoga, to book clubs, all kinds of things, and that's going above and beyond, but will have all kinds of impact in the classroom as the day progresses. So hats off to Jones Magnet and Jones Middle School. I do want to do a real quick plug for Library Palooza this Saturday. It starts at 10. It's for our middle schools, but oh my gosh, the authors they have that are coming will fill everybody's bucket. The kids are just going to be so excited, and the kids who come, these authors are like rock stars to them, and they get autographs, but they listen to not just the craft of writing books, but they listen to stories and how stories become huge, become books that can take them to all kinds of places and give them all kinds of experiences. But yet they get to be with middle schools from not just Northside. We have other middle schools come as well. But kudos to the library services staff for hosting that, and the librarians, and of course the teachers that go with them. I did get to, not that this would surprise anybody, but there was a Be Well, Stay Well conference on Saturday. It was through Zoom. But I did get to teach my favorite thing, which is laughing yoga. And it was full, and everybody was laughing, and they were having a lot of fun. I think I ran over time, but I will tell you, the most asked question in chat is Dr. Woods going to be here? Is Dr. Woods? What about Dr. Woods? And I said, well, I'll do a laughing yoga for the board sometime. But anyway, it was lots of fun. There were lots of sessions. So kudos to Dr. Kim Ridgely and her staff for hosting that, and for, I think they were kind enough to invite me to come, but they had very high quality presentations there. So thanks for that. And then last, Dr. Woods, thank you so much for being part of the Thompson Executive Leadership Conference this Saturday. They wanted to hear about our Cast Teach school, and Erica Olivares was phenomenal, and lots of great information about a school that's going to truly, truly honor. I think it'll honor our Northside teachers the most. It honors the profession that I love so much and that I'm part of. And so to me, it's a gift to teachers. I hope they see it as that. Her recruiting numbers are really, really good. And so it's the first of its kind that I know of in this area, and one of a very few in the state of Texas and in the nation. So she also hosted all the middle school families that had already signed up the other night. And one of the things that was really wonderful, she sent all the middle school kiddos that had already signed up, right, to the library to have a presentation, and she asked the parents to write a letter about their hopes and their dreams for their child that they will read in 4 years. And so she will keep them in a safe place. There wasn't a dry eye. There's not a dry eye now. I mean, it is something that the parents loved, and they took the time to write. And I think any parent would love that opportunity to do that. But Cast Teach, it's going to take off and do great things for our profession and for our district. So thank you very much, Madam President.
Thank you, Dr. Harrell. Anyone else? Go ahead. You can use your lights.
Yeah, I forget.
It's been a while.
Yes, I just wanted to say congratulations to all our athletic sports teams that are in the finals, or in the semifinals here. Also wanted to just touch on the trustee appreciation. I was invited to the Vale Middle School by Principal Brenda Rayberg, and it was really interesting to see the campus. We don't often get to go and see the campuses, but in this one it was really nice. There was a partnership between, for my ceremony, there was a partnership between the Stevens Middle School and Vale Middle School band, and they were able to participate, and they played a song, and it was really great to see that partnership and how the music department, especially the fine arts, was growing, and they were teaching and working with the high school, the middle school kids, and trying to create that line continuating over to public school. So it was really good to see that. And then I had a chance to see the fine arts dance program, and I believe the dance teacher was Miss Stacy Duke. She's done an excellent job with the program there at Vale Middle School and growing the fine arts program there. So it was really nice to see that. And at the end, I got to take a picture with everybody that participated in the event, and they had this big envelope, and then a lot of the students had written thank you notes, and they put them in the envelope, and I got to take that home with me. But one of the events that I was asked to participate in, which is what Trustee Blunt participates in, is the basketball tournament. Are you play on that? Did you play on it last time?
Last year.
Yeah. Well, so I told him, I said, oh, so Trustee Blunt's on there? Well, I got to get on there. We got to play. I said, I'm not very good, but hey, put me on there. I can try to shoot the ball. So, but yeah, so unfortunately it didn't go, they didn't have it the weekend after. So, but it was great to see that. And I want to thank the Vale Middle School students and the staff and the principal for honoring me that day for trustees. So. Thank you so much, Madam President.
Mr. Blunt?
Yeah, I'm going back to Trustee Lopez's story. So, Bill, every year they do have a faculty versus the students game, and it's always an exciting time. I participate in basketball. They have volleyball also. Yeah. But I just did the warm-ups this year. I said, look, I can't. But I said, but Mr. Lopez will be here pretty soon to play the game. So they're waiting on you. Uh, the other thing I was going to pass on was we have the National Science Bowl, and thanks to Northside on this leadership on that to allow our public, private, and charter schools to actually compete against each other. The middle schools will be this weekend. Yeah, I know it got delayed by the weather encounter that we had, so we're looking forward to that. And in theory, I'm unbiased, but I'm on Northside all the way, so hopefully we do well on that part of it. The other I was going to bring up. I had an opportunity to go by Stubing Elementary. I went there for the career day about 2 months ago. I think Dr. Wiz was there too. But Dr. Wiz, I went back to the class that I spoke with to teach them how to play the UTSA Cyber Threat Defender card game. That's for the elementary school. So that was a fun time to have that opportunity with those kids. And I'll bring up one other thing, and it's sort of related to your point on the strength of Northside on the teaching element. Northside is also providing the leadership on that cyber element. I'm just talking to the number of folks that are amazed that not only do we have it for middle and high schools with the magnet and other programs, but actually elementary school, it's also included as part of their rotation with STEM and Career Day also. So San Antonio's efforts to Cyber City, they're very proud of what Northside's doing. And that's all I had.
Thank you, Mr. Blunt. Ms. Chumley?
Yes, I have a lot, but I'm not going to read all of it, but I will go quickly, so I'll talk like my son. Brian, thank you for mentioning Gerlach. We set another record, unbelievable, in the environment that we are in right now, but Gerlach raised $1.4 million. Oh my gosh. Yeah, for 312 kids.
Wow.
It was really something. And I want to add thanks to Northside for the live streaming. We're still getting lots of good comments about grandparents that are out of state that have never been able to come down, particularly with COVID, and they're going to miss their kids showing because they're seniors now. And so I wanted to pass that thanks along. I want to thank the ag teachers. I think that they've done a really great job, and I appreciate all of their hard work. And then I want to tell you, because I'm going to try to get the picture for y'all to see. I'm going to send it to Barry. So Chad Bolkin, who is the principal, and Tom Johnson, the vice principal, and Pam Zablocki-Wilson, who is the counselor. Well, when you show poultry, you have to hold the turkeys, and they didn't have enough people to hold them, so those three volunteered. And actually were holding the turkeys during the poultry show, and the look on Tom's face is precious. So I will get those photos, but I wanted to really thank them for stepping up and engaging in the stock show in that manner. I had a great visit with Jessica Weaver, Communities in Schools, and it is truly amazing what they offer and what they do to help us and help our kids. And what I found really, I was very grateful because my mentee is at Palo Alto, and they actually have Communities in School at Palo Alto. And they were able to actually get, to point her in the right direction for some emergency funds that she needs right now. And so I was just very grateful and very impressed. So I think that any of us, I just didn't know a lot about what Community in Schools does. And so if any of us have any questions, she has offered to meet with the board or do a presentation or anything to help get us on board with, just understanding what Communities in School does. It was a great visit. And then, it's just been trying times for everyone. It's been trying times for our parents. It's been trying times for our community and for trustees. But I'm going to tell you, I have been fully restored in the belief in public education. So I had the great honor of visiting with Margaret Bray and Susan. Margaret Bray, who is the principal of the Marshall Law and Medical Services Magnet, and Susan Cleveland, who is the principal at Marshall High School. And I met with these kids that they were just, I've got to tell you their names. I met with Kyle Ward, Mason Hutchings, Matthew Caldwell, Ben Clark, Serena Gomez, and Chloe Stewart. They were just absolutely amazing. And I really encourage anyone that is concerned or just feeling poorly about public ed to talk to some of our students. They are just truly amazing individuals, and I have great hope for all of those students. And they were very diverse in their activities. And then some of them, a couple of them actually mentor freshmen. They're part of a mentor program at Marshall. And we really they talked to these freshmen about dating and about, just turning in papers and studying and just the social spectrum of what it's like to be a freshman. And I was so impressed with these kids, and they really restored my faith in what we're doing. So I just really want to say a huge shout out to those kids and to Susan and Margaret for a great visit. And then just real quickly, I want to thank Jacob Villarreal, who is in our facilities. And I apologize, Brian, I can't remember what Jacob's title is. If he's a director or assistant
Executive Director. Engineering
Executive
and
Director of Facilities, for touring a facility with me. I really appreciated him taking the time and walking through one of our campuses with me, and I want to thank him for doing that. And then the other thing, I want to thank John J. Culinary. Dr. Woods already talked about Dr. Torres's induction at John Jay, but John Jay's Culinary was there, and those kids were just so great. And some of them were a little nervous, but they talked to you and told you about everything that was on the spread to eat, and just they were very, very impressive. So I want to thank the 2 culinary arts teachers there as well. And then I want to close on just a really positive statement. So I had run into a gentleman who has just started doing he's a general contractor, and he just started doing work with Northside. And so whenever I run into someone that's doing work with Northside, I always want to ask, how are things going? Is it easy to work with our staff? All those kinds of things. And he had the greatest compliment. He said that other school districts will have inspectors that come and inspect a job. And that those inspectors will actually wait, like let's say there's a problem in the wall. They'll wait until they put the drywall up and paint before they bring that to anyone's attention. So that the contractor then has that additional cost to go in and have to open the wall up and fix whatever the repair was. But he said our staff doesn't do that. That our inspectors and our staff work as partners with our general contractors. And if they find a problem, that they will address it before another step is taken. And that was just really, really appreciated, because it can really lead to costing some of the general contractors additional monies in these jobs. Within, that falls down to us as well. So Leroy, I just want to say kudos to your staff. That I thought that was a really great comment about how Northside works with the businesses in our communities. And I just wanted to thank you for that. And that was it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chumley. To my fellow trustees, I'd like to call your attention to the book. I had the opportunity to go to Harlan High School this past week, and Harlan hosted an author. I guess it's I don't know how you would say it. An author came to talk to the students about the book that he wrote. And the book that he wrote is called The Great Dissenter, which John Marshall Harlan was known as the great dissenter on the courts. And one of his most famous cases, Plessy versus one of the courts, Plessy versus Ferguson, the court actually upheld racial segregation. Mr. Plessy he pleaded guilty in 1897 for sitting on a whites-only train car. Interestingly, after 125 years, the governor of Louisiana just recently pardoned him to clear him of that record. But Mr. Canales was there. This is the book. I hope y'all enjoy it. Yeah, I think you'll find it very interesting. And he was wonderful to listen to. The kids had really good questions. And I appreciate Mr. Harris and the librarian staff at Harlan for being able to bring him there. I think that concludes our board members' report. And we will go on to our public hearing.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, Dr. Woods, President Freeman, and members of the board. School districts in Texas are required to publish the annual Texas Academic Performance Report,
or taper as we know it, and hold a public hearing during a regular board meeting. The complete taper report is available on the Northside website as it is each year. This evening's presentation will contain the required elements for the public hearing, which is listed in TEA guidance. So you'll see 7 bullets that the remainder of the presentation will focus on. So first, the public hearing must address the district accreditation status. Well, as you know, no accreditation status was issued for any school district in the state of Texas because all districts are considered not rated, declared state of disaster due to the pandemic. The special ed compliance status is based on the 21-22 RDA, which is results-driven accountability. You probably recognize that as the old PBMAS. With that accountability, there are 4 determination levels. The first is meets requirements. The second is needs assistance. The third is needs intervention. And the fourth is needs substantial intervention. So Northside got the second highest rating, needs assistance, which simply requires that we create something in our district improvement plan to address scores for special ed students. We received this particular rating because our students in special ed did not meet the cut score at the meets level in the accountability system, and we had too many students who were Asian with autism. So if you remember, we talked about some of those cut scores at academics. The next slide shows Northside's performance on STAR for all subjects and subject areas summed across the grade levels. It shows it at each proficiency level, approaches, meets, and masters. The colored bars indicate Northside's performance as it compares to the state and region. In addition, the individual campus performance objectives are in the hyperlink, and it shows each campus's performance as it relates to the goals that they set for the 21-22 school year. This information in this slide shows the number of incidents per level of violations of the Code of Conduct, of fighting, possession of alcohol, and controlled substance. In addition, it shows the incidents per 1,000 students from 1920 compared to 2021. Information on the performance of the 2019 high school graduates in their first year of higher education in a Texas school is shared on this slide. This shows that out of nearly 7,000 graduates, approximately 3,700 attended higher education during their first year out of high school. Of those, 2,900 made passing or better grades at the end of the year. If you would like to view, or the public, the full taper report, this is what it looks like on our website. And then you also can go in and search by individual campus to see the data in full. Ms. Freeman, this concludes the taper report.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Jordan. For some reason, I can't get, oh, here we go. Any comments or questions, board members?
I just wanted to point out that we had reviewed this in great detail at academics.
All right. And that's not, we don't approve that, or, I mean, that's just a report, right? Okay. Let's see. Next item on the agenda is citizens to be heard. We believe citizens to be heard is important and meaningful, and we will listen to what you have to say. We value your opinions, although we are restrained by law from taking any action. Please address your remarks to the board. Confine your remarks to a Northside policy or practice. Limit your remarks to 3 minutes. At 2 minutes, Trustee Lopez will hold up the yellow card. and then you know it's time to begin wrapping up your remarks. At 3 minutes, you'll hold up the red card, and that means that your time is up. We do have a few people that have signed up to speak to an agenda item, and I'd like for you to wait till we get to that agenda item, and it will be right after this. We will, board members, if it's okay with you, I'd like to move the agenda item up on the stipend. I know Ms. Chumley needs to leave right after that, or soon thereafter.
If y'all don't mind, I'd appreciate that. My son's basketball team is in the playoffs, and I don't want to miss it. So if y'all don't mind moving that up, that would be appreciated.
Okay.
know.
We'll start with non-agenda items.
I'm going to be
Dr.
late.
Wicks?
First person signed up to speak is Lorena Cuellar.
Good evening. My name is Lorena Cuellar, and I have been employed with NISD for the past 4 years. As a member of Ward ES family and a teammate of one of the most powerful environments in the district, ALE, I am pleased to address you this evening. We all know that NISD employees' loyalty is important, but oftentimes we forget how employee loyalty is connected to student services, and how loyal employees contribute to the success of the entire Northside District. Student success and growth are stimulated primarily by employee loyalty. Loyalty is a direct result of each child's success. Satisfaction is largely influenced by the value of services provided to our students. Value is created by satisfied, loyal, and productive employees. NISD employee satisfaction, in turn, results primarily from high-quality administrative support and policies that enable employees to deliver exemplary services to all students. There are NISD employees in every position across the district who genuinely care about their students and who have dedicated themselves to them. These employees listen to their leadership and peers for direction on how to improve the livelihood of every student during the pandemic and beyond. During this time, we have been dedicated to our duties and perform them to the best of our abilities, indeed, exceeding expectations. We are exceptional team players working concurrently with our colleagues in the best interest of our students. We, as NISD employees, trust and respect the leadership of Northside, and we feel empowered and motivated to do the best for each child, even during the difficult obstacles and challenges of this pandemic. As the pandemic continues, NISD employees in all levels continue to work with great zeal and devotion. We are resilient and proven to be sustainable. We believe that we have proven to be the best employees, and if given the opportunity, we feel that our loyalty and dedication should be recognized. Our hard work and commitment justifies a request of this retention stipend. Your consideration would be highly appreciated by the multitude of NISD employees who respect and admire the guidance of our board, our administration here at Northside. We will always remain faithful to you. We stand strong, and we are Northside.
Okay. Thank you. Next, Dr.
Marissa Rios.
Hello, my name is Marissa Rios. I have 4 boys. This is one of my sons, Colton. All of them are attending Northside. I love hearing that you're happy with Northside. This is the first year that I'm losing faith. Last week, this is the 3rd incident, not only physically and emotionally, my son has been harmed at school during class. The school has not handled it properly, and I have been here to Central, and my son doesn't even want to go to school. I was at his school all day. He wanted me to be there in middle school, so that tells you how bad it is. Last week in class, he was thrown on the ground. His eyes were gouged. His sweater was taken and his hoodie, and it was tied around his neck. He was punched in his stomach, and a teacher barely came to help and barely could get that kid off. My son was suspended for 2 days, and I was given the wrong information. It was only supposed to be 1 because he tried to push the kid off. That's insane. He was trying to protect himself. If that's the case, the teacher should have also been suspended. She touched them both. He was trying to protect himself. They did not take him to the nurse thereafter. He sat in the office for an hour waiting for the vice principal. He notified me, not the school. I was given the incorrect information. The teacher was not, and under my understanding, Northside does not train faculty, nor staff, nor administration on what to do in the incidents of fights. This is a big issue. You just saw your numbers. Middle schools, 103, more than your high schools, more than your elementaries. I went today. It breaks my heart to see what I saw. This is not only the only school. From what I've heard, it is a lot of middle schools. This is a reflection. I'm not blaming the kid that beat him. I'm blaming the school that could have prevented it. I am blaming the school that should have been monitored by their central office. I'm blaming the board. This has to be addressed. I've also written notes and I've heard stories from so many parents. It breaks my heart. He doesn't want to go to school. This right here. So I'm asking, I'm begging, please look at your policies. If something really serious could have happened to my son or any other kids, there's parents that are unaware of this. I am speaking not only for my son, but for everybody else's children that don't have a voice. If those parents went to these schools, these middle schools, and saw what I saw today, y'all would be in big trouble. I'm not talking to you personally, but from what I saw. And to see the faces, only one of you on the board is actually making eye contact and actually kind of looking, some of you. When I go to the schools, I'm disregarded. My emotions, my son's feelings are disregarded. This will not be the last time you hear from me.
Excuse me, thank you. Ms. Rios, if you don't mind, please step out with Mr. Galindo so he could get your contact information. Thank you, Mr. Galindo.
I think it's Nicholas Keller. Nicholas, maybe.
Good evening. So I want to start by thanking the administrator and teachers at the Agriculture Academy. Okay. The team is amazing, preparing kids for a great future with their curriculum. The Agriculture Academy staff is also going way beyond via its support for the FFA on the Walter Gallagher show. I show Mr. Johnson how to carry a chicken, which was kind of funny. Wonderful, okay. It is a great staff, an amazing program, and I hope that the program will grow to help more and more kids, okay, really sincerely. However, I'm here today to talk, to inquire about NISD's treatment of children with disabilities. Okay. Honestly, I want to know if there is a bias against children with disabilities. I have seen disciplinary bias being manifested through what seems to be denial of benefits, refusal to assist parents when parents ask for help, for the special needs children, and retaliatory threats. We hoped that the issue that I mentioned would be addressed for our son and others. We previously had been forced to fight for our son's fair treatment and education benefits he is entitled to a few years ago. We followed the district process with one attorney, agreed not to pursue a particular claim, and we thought everything was fine until recently. Our son's rights were again violated. Okay. We discovered that an assistant principal at O'Connor High School not only forced our son to sign a false confession he could not understand, have denied what was alleged. The assistant principal didn't tell us about it, what she procured, didn't even try to remove it after receiving a police report that showed it was just false. Okay. We filed a level 1 grievance, got the information removed from our son record. Okay. But then when we asked the school's principal for a meeting with the assistant principal to understand what happened, we were simply denied the meeting and told to go somewhere else. Last week, in addition, we got a note in writing in the ARD notes telling us that our son was in danger of being kicked out because of his behavior that is a direct manifestation of his disabilities. So, since it seems that following the district process doesn't work, I want to know what to do next. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You know, we're not able to have dialogue here, and Mr. Galindo is still out, but, Ms. Sick would be able to help you.
Thank you.
Sisk. Thank you.
That is it, Ms. Freeman, under citizens to be heard. Everybody else is signed up under an agenda item.
Okay. Before we go on to move that agenda item, next item on the agenda is consent agenda. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as stated.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. And so we will go ahead and advance now to the agenda item on, it's 12B, resolution regarding retention pay. And I will ask that call people to speak to that. We'll have the staff presentation first, and then we'll ask you to speak, and then the board will have a discussion. Dr. Barajas?
Is this on? It's on already? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Freeman. We covered this topic at the meeting we had on February 8th. There were a couple of items that we did not cover at the time as we were still formulating the plan to bring to the board's attention a administration's proposal to do retention pay using ESSER $3. A couple of the items on this particular slide have been filled out regarding some other information. The estimated cost is roughly the same amount that we had at that time. Some completed steps. At the time, we had not made the amendment to the application. Right now, we have made the amendment to the application using ESSER $3. The FPAC has met and has agreed in principle to this for us to move forward. So where we are now is waiting for TEA to let us know whether or not the application has been amended or approved for us to move forward with using the ESSER $3 to make this retention payment. I've heard the term stipend, and I stay away from that. It's just calling it retention pay. Definitely don't want to say bonus. It's just retention pay. We have, in the next slide, laid out, which we did not have the last time we spoke, regarding the dollar amount for all the different classifications. As you see from the very top, the full-time staff will receive $1,000, all the way down to the different categories, to the last group for the temporary seasonal staff who worked in a part-time capacity, 20 hours or more in a pay period as of January 31st, 2022, $100. So that was not, again, presented to the board the last time we spoke. Staff has gone through to determine the various dollar amounts. And finally, again, we are following within the guidelines of the purpose of the ESSER funds. So retention pay does fall within the use of ESSER $3. And it is an allowable use. One thing we always have to take into consideration when we're moving forward with this, despite the fact that other districts around the area and, quite frankly, around the state have done this, we want to look into the details to make sure that down the road we're not going to be visited by somebody from either the federal government or from the state saying that that was an allowable cost and you have to pay this back. So again, just because somebody else has done it, that's great for them, but we go through and make sure that we can find specifically within the verbiage that this is an allowable use, and it is, so that's why we're bringing it to the board for approval.
Okay.
If I could just real quickly, if we
Sure.
can go back a slide, Naomi, thank you. Just to explain the logic here. So we've talked about for a while a $1,000 retention payment to full-time staff, $500 to part-time staff, That doesn't cover every group of employees, so we went in and tried to get it much more granular. You can see some consideration for long-term substitutes, some of whom we have counted on since literally day school, and we really thought those folks, their work needed to be recognized. We also wanted to recognize substitutes who've worked a substantial days, and so you can see a category for substitutes who've worked at least 40 days as of the end of January. So just wanted to add some clarity to the recommendation.
What's, before we get into board questions or comments, we'll listen to our citizens. Okay.
First sign up to speak is Noah Tallarico.
Superintendent Woods, members of the board, thank you very much for allowing us the opportunity to speak, and thank you for considering the retention bonuses today. My name is Noah Tellerico. I'm a Northside parent, resident, and teacher, a former Army officer, and an AFT member. My colleagues and I are here today because we love our job, our profession, and we have a passion for what we do. We're teachers, substitutes, instructional assistants, custodians, cafeteria staff, bus drivers, and everyone else that helps make Northside what it is. Our goal here today is the same as yours. Is to transform the learning experience of students. The last few years have presented many challenges, but we are still here. When the fear of COVID separated us up and reached out, we made phone calls, home visits, wellness checks, and after-hours tutoring. We spent our own money to upgrade our internet services. We bought and paid for educational software and hardware to engage students remotely and later in hybrid settings. We knew technologies and rapidly pivoted to support students' transitions to in-person learning, and we did everything we were asked to keep schools safe, often spending our own money to fill in the gaps. When schools only had large cloth masks that were not fitted, we bought our own supply of fitted masks for students. When custodians were understaffed and were working until 2 a.m. to clean the schools and campuses, we stayed late to help classrooms and lower the workload for custodians. When TikTok trends and other challenges of transitioning students back into the classroom led to teacher and school property being stolen, vandalized, and destroyed, we covered some of that cost by replacing those needed supplies and used it as an opportunity for learning. We spent time teaching social skills to students and building rapport with students. And teachers weren't necessarily asked to do this. We simply did it because it's part of our job. The state of Texas has asked us to do a lot. HB 4545 added additional layers of planning. HB 3 has asked elementary school teachers to put in 50+ hours of additional time without funding. Custodians are working longer hours to keep schools clean and safe. Cafeteria staff also stepped up their game too, providing additional meals and food support during the pandemic. And with rapid inflation, many hourly workers are passing by restaurants and wondering if full-time positions as a line cook at Pluckers for $20 an hour might not be a better option for their families. It's no secret that teachers, custodians, subs, cafeteria workers, all of us, we all sometimes feel overworked and underappreciated. Among the top reasons for teachers leaving the profession is because they feel undervalued. I urge the board not just to look at the quantitative metrics on paper, but to listen to how Northside employees feel. As much as this matters for students, it matters for us. A retention stipend is not just about the money. It's a means to help teachers recover some of the increased costs of teaching in the past few years, help hourly paid staff adjust to rapid inflation, and it demonstrates to teachers that Northside recognizes that classroom teachers have the most impact on student achievement. Most importantly, to send a message to Northside employees that you hear us and you're responsive to us. Please pass the retention stipend. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
William Thomas.
I apologize. Ms. Freeman, may I give you some letters of teachers who were unable to attend? Is that okay?
Monica over here. Thank you.
Good evening. That's Noah, my good friend and a heck of a good colleague at Zachary Middle School. And a tough act to follow. Superintendent Woods and members of the board, my name is Bill Thomas, and I teach both world geography and Texas history at Zachary Middle School. It's been an interesting year with young teens. Both students and teachers are struggling with pandemic issues, absenteeism, and learning loss. We're working harder than ever, and so are our students. We're asking that you consider the retention bonus for all employees. We know that you cannot lighten the workload. We know that mandates from the state and federal government are non-negotiable. And we know that you know that it is important experienced educators in the profession. So again, please consider the retention bonus. It would mean a lot to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Melina Espiritu.
evening. Just recently, Texas A&T released a troubling survey. 66% of Texas educators are considering leaving the profession. It's a sobering statistic that should send chills through our educational system. My own child has lost 2 teachers this school year to resignation. And although I don't know specifics as to exactly why, I can tell you that the amount of expected workload being put on educators is contributing to losing highly qualified, experienced educators. We must work together to stop this loss and show respect to educators and employees of Northside. Northside A&T continues to advocate for an employee stipend of $1,000 for full-time employees and $500 for part-time employees of the district, which would show appreciation to the loyal and hardworking employees and also help retain its best employees. Northside employees deserve this recognition and compensation, but have watched and waited while other districts have already compensated their employees with retention stipends. I hope that today you all vote to show these employees that you value them. Northside A&T also continues to advocate that our district reasonably compensate teachers mandated to complete TEA reading academies. This tremendous beyond 60 hours. And while the district did pay teachers last year for 2 sessions, one in the summer and one in March, the total compensation for that was simply not enough. Teachers should be compensated for their work. The Reading Academy takes time away from their families and adds work to their already full plate. Northside A&T is asking they be paid a minimum of $1,500 for their work. We believe the funding for this could come from ESSER funds released from the general fund due to these ESSER funds being captured. Other districts throughout the state and city have offered and are currently offering Reading Academy participants reasonable compensation for this added work. We are just asking the same or better. Today, we ask that you not only address the retention stipend, but to also support the K through teachers that have or will be completing the Reading Academy. The time to listen to the needs of educators is certainly now. I'll leave you with a quote from the Texas A&T president, Zeph Capo. Our message to leaders and politicians is, listen to teachers, to school staff, to students, and to parents. We work together in developing solutions to the real issues in our schools, like safety, supporting the students through a crisis, and retaining dedicated, qualified school staff members. Thank you for your time and consideration. We know together we are better and stronger. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lizette Goodlow.
Good evening, Board of Trustees and Dr. Woods. As a former teacher of Northside ISD and a current parent of a student in Northside, I'm going to start with a quote from James Baldwin. Let's begin by saying that we are living through a very dangerous time. Everyone in this room is in one or another aware of that. As a parent of Northside ISD, I am in favor of all full-time staff receiving a retention stipend for their loyalty to the district. These past 2 years have proved to be extremely challenging, and staff has been required to pitch in to do what is in the best interest of all our children. While some departments have faced bigger challenges than others, their loyalty to the district should be acknowledged. If we do not provide a small incentive to our current employees, we are going to continue to lose the districts, other professions, or early retirement. With the continued strain on our educational system, it is imperative that we show appreciation for the people who are still with us. Northside ISD prides itself on being one of the best school districts, and that is attributed to the phenomenal teachers, campus staff, custodians, and bus drivers who continue to put students' needs first. As educational leaders, it's your obligation to examine the system and change it, and fight no matter what's at risk. This is the only hope our educational system has. This is the only way things change. I encourage you to continue listening to the teachers that are currently still workside, along with the rest of the staff that is still here. Please continue to pass and vote to pass this retention stipend, bonus, whatever we want to call it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Benjamin Conley, I think.
Okay, I'm a little tall. I would like to address the board. This stipend would definitely help. I have to use a CPAP, and it is a medical item. Even through my
insurance, having difficulty getting. And, the $1,000 would definitely help me, get that. And if I can't get that, it's going to cause me a problem, of course, with health issues. And then my only option is to look for other gainful employment, and which is unfortunate because, I really do love my job. I love these kids. I'm glad, every day I'm like, man, why do I get up at, 5 in the morning? But, I do it because I know that I'm making a difference. I really, but I still need to take care of myself, and that would give a little bit of dignity. And this goes for all my full-time, especially my full-time transportation staff, because, we're trying our hardest. We're covering each other's routes. It really is like a family. We really do try to do our best, and, we do have that camaraderie. So I would definitely ask the board to definitely consider, stipend or whatever it's called, because, I know y'all care. I know, we can really, get through this. And I don't like seeing my coworkers just going out the door and, I'm asking what happened to so-and-so, because you're, shooting the stuff with them and they're like, oh, they went somewhere else, and it's like, so I would definitely appreciate y'all's time. If there's anyone I can talk to, about other issues, of course, it's a continuous conversation that, just so we can get a rapport going between us, so we can get these issues addressed before they become bigger issues. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is that it, Dr.? Concludes the citizens to be heard portion. Trustees, I see Ms. Saldana's light on. Or either that or I didn't shut it off. Did you have a question? Dr. Harrell?
I think I have to go back historically. So as soon as ESSER funds came out, I remember I wasn't the only board member that jumped on the opportunity to say, and it's going to be what's in a name, stipend, bonus, doesn't matter, but some form of monetary appreciation and gratitude as a way of, even though we know our salary in Northside, we always champion the best salaries for all our employees. But we felt strongly 2 years ago that any opportunity that we could have to say thank you, and it's really a challenge because we can't go and hug everybody and say it face to face, but we truly keep teachers, our employees, students at the forefront of every single decision that we make. And this was not something that just came up last week at academics or whenever, but it has come up over and over again. And so I applaud that we're looking at this as a way of saying thank you. So I don't know what we're going to call it, if it's retention stipend, I'll stick with, for me personally, it's an appreciation and a gratitude gift. This happens to be a great month to give gifts from the heart. So hopefully that's where we're going with this, and we'll wait for the rest of the trustees to say something or to vote. Thank you.
Dr. Harrell. Mr. Lopez?
Thank you, Madam President. I had one question, Renee. When we talk about the retention stipend bonus.
Retention pay. Let's just call it retention pay.
What is this like before taxes? So do each employee full benefit of the pay? Do they feel it? I mean,
This is a
it
gross
before
amount.
taxes or after?
This is a gross amount.
Okay.
Everybody will pay taxes
Okay.
appropriate to their bracket on whatever the
So
stipend.
that's what I just wanted to make sure we understood as well. And to your point, Carol, Dr. Harrell, this is something that we have all talked about and wanted to make sure that we looked at this to show our appreciation Sometimes it was a little challenging, but I mean, in the sense of we needed to figure out how we could do it. So thank you, Renee, for doing that and looking at it from the financial staff, as well, and Dr. Woods for bringing that up for consideration for the board. So, thank you.
Thank you. Doctor? I'm sorry, I'm having sugar with the lights. Ms. Chumley?
Well, I wanted to move that we approve the retention pay. And then I just have a quick comment. I want everyone to know that this is not something that, Carol, I'm going to add on to your comments. We have been talking since began what we can do to let our teachers know how much we appreciate the work that you do. And we recognize how hard it is. And I think that one thing that we have done is we have tried to keep our salaries the strongest that we can with our budget and making sure that we stay fiscally strong. You know, it's a challenging time right now. I'm really sure if we're going to get a whole lot of help out of Austin in this next legislative session. But it's something that we have been looking at for years. And I know that we've made comments how much you, and we've said thank you, and we've extended the days to give you time for planning and working together as teams. And I think all of those things are things that we looked at. I appreciate that Renee made the comment about we are, you know, other districts may do things in different manners, but we are very conservative about what we do from a fiscal standpoint. And I'm glad that we are. I mean, I know when we went, I can't remember if it's 2008 or 2009, when other districts were riffing teachers and staff, and we didn't do that. And that part of that is because we are so conservative about looking at the long-term financial health of our district. So I just want all of y'all to know that this wasn't something that just came when we got ESSER funds. It's really something that we've been looking at ways to tell you how much we appreciate all of our staff. And it's from the custodians that are keeping our schools clean, our bus drivers, our food service, everyone in the classroom, our administrative staff, our staff here in central office. We really do appreciate and recognize the work that you're doing. And I was reading some studies about how beneficial retention bonuses, whatever, retention pay is from an employee's standpoint. And so there's studies that say it really doesn't make a difference. There's studies that say it does. So I hope that anyone that doesn't think it makes a difference knows that Dr. Harrell is absolutely on target with this. This is a way for us to say thank you, and we would not be doing it if that wasn't a recommendation that came from our superintendent as well. So anyone that thinks we were delaying, we weren't. We were trying to make sure that we could use the ESSER funds correctly and trying to make sure that we fiscally were going to stay strong. And so I just hope all of you will recognize it is a thank you, and we do recognize the work that you do and are so appreciative. And you see it in our kids' faces, and that's what's just really amazing. So thank you.
I'll second that.
Oh, the motion. Oh, and the comment.
Okay, so we do have a motion, and I assume we have a second, and Mr. Blunt has.
Yeah, I think our prior trustees have said it also all too well, but I do want to add another sort of different or broader perspective also. You know, earlier today I was in a meeting with the Northside Education Foundation on a grants program, and I bring that up because I think, you know, they give out teachers and others are grants that because of the community. They're a nonprofit organization that wants to support our community and everything we have going on. I think one thing hopefully everybody recognizes, and the reason why I bring that one up is, you know, we are in a lot of meetings, and our community really wants you all as the teachers and the staff and everything else. The challenge is how and what should be done, but I've never seen the community as a whole, businesses and everybody else trying to say, what can we do? What can we do? Now, we as a board taking this step on the retention part, but I bring it up because I think we all realize there's so much more we all need to do for the comments that y'all made, separately from the different concerns and challenges being faced. But I do want us to recognize and, these businesses and communities, challenge them too. Tell them to parents, families, others, whether it be, how kids may be behaving or how business can help you out do this, et cetera. I think we need to take it much further, just our retention pay, although this is important, and I did say retention pay, so I didn't get in trouble, but very important. But please, let's continue to do better, and thank you all for bringing this forward.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Blunt. Ms. Saldana?
I just want to add, you all know that I was a former teacher. I've been there for North. I know what you're saying, but I want you to also know that when I became a member of this board, I really thought that I was going to have to fight battles for the teachers. Every single meeting that I have been to, and I've been to a lot, the questions always come up. Does that mean we're going to put more work on our teachers? We don't want that. We don't want to add any more work. Or the question comes up, is that what's best for us? So I have been so impressed with this board because they truly are concerned about the teachers. And if there was any way that we could have given our teachers a $2,000 extra check, we would have done. But we also have bills to pay, and so we have to look at our budgets. So when Esther came along, that was one of the first things we all talked about. I want you to know you are appreciated by this board. We think the world of you, and we have been so grateful for all the people who came up and said, what can we do to help? What can we do? And all my fellow board members, how can we make it easier for the teachers? So please know you are appreciated very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Saldana. I don't know that there's anything left for me to say except thank you all very much. We do, in our decision-making, we always think about our students and our staff, and you're an integral part, all our staff, an integral part of this whole system. So thank you, and I appreciate the staff bringing recommendation to us. So we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution regarding the retention pay. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it and motion carries. And there we go. All right. Next item on the agenda. Thank you. Under curriculum instruction, first reading and approval of EIAA local.
Yes, ma'am. EIA local outlines guidelines for grading and progress reports. Also includes guidelines, semester exams, exemptions, and exam weight. We're bringing to you yet another revision, and we're asking for approval on first reading for the caveat for the 3 absences that students can have no more than in the spring semester to still qualify for. And so you see we're asking for one change. For the spring semester 2022, the student has 3 or fewer absences from March 1st to June 2nd. Typically, we would start that requirement at the beginning of the second semester in early January, but as you know, that was when we had a COVID uptick, so we tabled that requirement, and we want to begin again counting it March 1st.
I know that I've said this before about this particular policy, almost exactly a year ago today. Normally, we would bring the board first reading and then come back at a later meeting for consideration of second reading. This is a timeliness issue because we need to start the clock on this, if you will, at March 1st. And so we would ask consideration on first reading for approval.
Dr. Harrell?
I move we approve EIAA local.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve EIAA local. Any further questions? All those in favor, please saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Again for moving that up, and hopefully we'll still be in the playoffs tomorrow.
Thank you. Be safe. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Or, I guess it's not close to the weekend. Have a good week.
Sure.
Next item on the agenda is facilities and operations. Mr. Sam McGowl on the Jack C. Jordan Middle School.
Thank you. We got a couple of for you today. As some of you know, we do have implemented a master plan program for our older facilities. As a result of much work with architects and engineers and various other people, we were able to look into the future and try to figure out what our next steps are for an aggressive and building program, capital improvements program. So to that end, we have two presentations for a master plan that we'd like to share with you. Our architects are Pfluger Architects, and I think Andrew is here to give us a presentation. So we'll go from Jack Jordan, same architect, by the way, and then into Stinson.
Before Andrew begins, I just want to say to the board, these are both proposed bond 2022, so these are not immediate construction projects. This is purely looking at a large-scale plan that would be work in the future, including as soon as if a bond passed in the spring of 2022.
Thank you. Madam President, Dr. Woods, board members, good evening. I'm Andrew with Pfluger Architects, and I am here to present a couple of master plans for you, starting with Jordan Middle School. So I'll jump right into it. One of the things that we went ahead and did in conjunction with looking at planning for a potential magnet program at Jordan is to look at existing deficiencies on the campus to make sure that any proposed work at this site would not be hindered by the addition of an additional program. So here you'll see a couple of photos of the existing campus as it stands today, with the main located at the front with the pyramid shape here, and just an image of the gymnasium as well to get a flavor for what's out there now. This campus was constructed in 1991. Primarily, no major renovation work has been done with the exception of HVAC upgrades over the years, and then the flooring was actually replaced last summer. So this campus has been pretty untouched since then, 1991. One of the first things we identified at this campus was that the administration component located at the front of the school is standing about 21% smaller than your standard. And so in the coding system of yellow and red, this one's considered a yellow. Not terrible, but not great either. So that's something that we kind of identified here. The science labs, however, are grossly undersized. This is further compounded by the fact that the TEA guidelines that were approved in November of last year will further increase that deficiency due to requirements for science lab prep room square footage. So something to definitely keep in mind. Athletic PE support areas are undersized minor. However, this campus actually has a gym sitting on top of each other. And so the locker rooms are spread out through 3 different floors. And so that's just something that we identified. It'd be really great if there was an opportunity to put those together, just for ease of access to the different facilities there. And then lastly, we noted that the fine arts programs, which are located on the sub-level of the campus, are pretty remote from the cafeteria and stage area, and so there's just a issue there that we wanted to make sure we highlighted. And so then looking at all of those deficiencies in conjunction with a potential magnet program at Jordan Middle School, we came up with the following master plan. A lot of items that need to be addressed, including science, athletics, and fine arts, and so on and so forth, would potentially be addressed in future scope. And you can see it does take up quite a bit of the footprint of the existing campus in order to pieces around. But if we're focusing on the magnet and primarily the administration component here, we're actually proposing that you could construct the magnet program at the south end of the site, and you can actually create a small addition to the administration to get that square footage back up to where it needs to be. So in 3D, what this looks like is a 2-story magnet addition that takes advantage of a connecting corridor in this 2-story classroom wing here. And you can actually add on to the administration component without having to take away from the integrity of the existing main entrance, which has, again, as we've kind of talked about in other projects, pretty strong architecture. So we would minimize that by creating the square footage and reconfiguring the administration area to get the square footage that you need without negatively affecting the front. So what that looks like in floor plan at a conceptual level, again, is a 2-story magnet addition located at the front of the campus here, and your administration addition and renovation here to make up the deficit of that. And that's actually all we have for Jordan. So I'd like to answer any questions you might have.
Okay. Board members? Dr. Harrell?
I'm sorry, I came in right when you were talking about the science lab. So you said, since you've drawn this, new specifications have come out, so you'll come back?
Oh, absolutely.
You'll just, it means they want our science labs larger?
The science labs primarily remain about as big as you have them now because you're kind of ahead of the curve. Really, the change in size is the prep room area.
Okay.
So it's about 10 square foot per student, if I'm not mistaken. So it does increase the size of that.
Okay.
But otherwise, we're just trying to pay attention to that in
Sure.
addition to the labs being a little small.
Okay, thanks.
That would be well out in the future.
We had great discussions over this at the building committee, and we really like this.
Just as a clarification, I know Dr. Woods alluded to a little while ago, is what's in the 2022 bond is only the magnet, not anything else.
Yeah, so the admin would be something we'd have to decide if that could be paired with this project or if it would need to be a separate project. But that's a decision to be made a minimum 2 years down the line.
Okay. So this item is up for approval. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve
Soundproof door.
that we approve this project.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the master plan at Jack Jordan Middle School. Any other questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the master plan for Stinson Middle School.
All right, so we'll jump right into this one. Thank you very much. Stinson Middle School was another campus that we looked at as a potential location for a separate magnet program. And so just like Jordan, we went ahead and did the same exercise and looked at this campus as well for its deficiencies. These are just a couple of images of this campus. And so the interesting thing about Stinson is that it was built, I think, 1 to 2 years around the time frame of Jordan. And so I think there was a theme going on here. So you can see it's got a very similar entrance, but again, strong entrance that we want to pay close attention to and not disturb, if you will. So looking at deficiencies here, this campus has a little bit more going on with it in terms of what was done. It was constructed in '89, so 2 years before Jordan, with a classroom addition in 1997, and then Pfluger actually performed the work, the design for the science lab renovation, library renovation, and a classroom addition in 2018. So we did get a leg up at this campus and were able to get a lot of those deficiencies out of the way at the time. So you'll notice that there's not a lot of issues at this campus. However, we did identify the following. The administration here is about 14% smaller than your standard, so not as bad as Jordan, but definitely a little smaller. This is more of a proximity issue that we notice as well as a size issue. The ALE program with special ed is 18% smaller than the current standard, and their offices are actually located very remotely on the campus, so they're not close together. So that was just something that we picked up on. And then lastly, they're using a large classroom for their theater arts program currently, and the stage is actually located at the far south end of the site. So we saw a couple of opportunities here with the proposed master plan at Stinson. So this would actually, as I understand it, be all done in one go. The scope to renovate the spaces required for ALE and for the theater are not as significant as some of the work required at Jordan Middle School. So that in conjunction with the proposed magnet program at this campus would involve the renovation of the existing administration wing, the construction of a new 2-story magnet addition here, and then the relocation of ALE into a larger area that would accommodate the space required for the classrooms as well as the offices component, and then relocating the theater over to to be adjacent to the cafeteria. And so what that looks like in 3D, I apologize, I didn't mention also, we picked up on an opportunity here to create a secured outdoor dining area as well. The cafeteria is in the front of the campus, and so unlike some of your newer middle schools, we just saw this as a potential opportunity as well. So I apologize for skipping that. But yes, we have this secured outdoor dining area that would be proposed here, and then the actual two-story magnet addition. All other work is actually renovation within the existing building. So when you look at that in floor plan, the blue spaces are Stinson spaces and the orange is magnet. So again, the magnet being constructed in the back of the campus here. We would take advantage of the greatly oversized lobby at Stinson in order to push out the square footage required for the administration renovation. So unlike Jordan, you don't have to add on to the administration to get it to the size it needs to be. We would take over what we understand to be surplus classrooms for ALE, and we would actually push the theater program to be located where ALE is now so that it has a much closer proximity to the stage as it stands. And then again, potentially adding that outdoor dining component as well. And I believe that is what we have for you for Stinson.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Did you have anything additionally, Mr. Senegal?
Yes, what's in the bond program is three things. Number one is the magnet school. We are taking an opportunity to repurpose and reconfigure for the ALE, which is woefully undersized. The fine arts, which is the theater arts that Andrew was talking about. The exterior dining area that you just saw, that we are purposely going to evaluate our schools to see if we can do that. And then obviously for the administration, it's not part of the bond, but we will take every opportunity to evaluate that at the time that we do the schematics and see if we can afford it. And then we'll bring a proposal back to the board ultimately.
Thank you. Ms. Saldana, you were on that committee.
Yeah, I was there when we went over this, and we were very pleased with what we saw. We're just hoping that everything goes the way we would like, and we can get all the renovations done and have the money to do the extras. Thank you all.
Dr. Harrell?
No, I was just, in both examples, we're talking about looking at a magnet addition 1 or 2 years, but still planning for it right now.
Yes, ma'am. We'll look at the timing. We've got kind of proposed timing, but we'll always start. I say always. Our history is to start the programming with a cohort or two of kids while construction is going on and not wait till the building's finished. Similar to what we'll do with Cast Teach that's getting ready to open. So yes, we feel like we can start the programming prior to the building being completed.
Just another noteworthy point, if you notice the magnets in the back of the school, we're going to start construction without not disrupting the entire program out there on both of these schools. The architects did a good job of leading us through the process to ensure that we limit our impact to the instructional program while we're in construction.
There was some, I should say, there was some commentary about the others that we've done being towards the front of the school and this one being at the rear. That is purposeful in this case. We see this as a sports medicine curriculum. So we wanted to locate it adjacent to the PE and athletics areas. It's also at Stinson because of its location to the Northside Sports Gym and to UTSA, which is constructing a pretty robust sports science program on their main campus. So that's the logic behind picking this campus and the location at the campus.
So just real quick, it was the second part to my question.
Sorry.
But really, no. So I think in future, and maybe it goes at the end of the board meeting, but we would have updates on the middle school magnets at academics, because it sounds like it's coming faster than, and we need them. I mean, after being at Jones, oh my gosh. And
I think we're on the same timeline that we reviewed the last time we showed the board. Obviously, all of this is contingent on passing a bond. So,
sure.
You know, we can certainly do that, Dr. Harrell. We do have tentative timelines for the opening of all these programs.
Okay. I just want to make sure that when people ask me about the bond, I want to throw that in as something important that.
And that when we talk about messaging with regard to the bond, when we talk about teaching and learning, this is obviously some of the projects that we highlight in that messaging.
Good. Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Lopez?
Leroy, I want to tell you thank you, for this because it's really been enlightening and then it's really helpful too. What I also want to say too is I like the fact that we're also considering the fine arts in some of the reconfigurations, and I know that it's later on down the line, but that is also one of the key components and why a lot of our students participate, and it's just another option for them to participate in school, and those are extra things. So thank you for that consideration in that as well. So great job.
Thank you.
Okay. I see no more lights. Is there a motion to come before the board?
I move that we accept the Catherine Stinson Master Plan.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the master plan at Stinson Middle School. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you very much. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is under Business and Finance, Budget Amendment Number 2 for fiscal year 2021-2022. Dr. Barajas.
Let me make a couple of comments before Dr. Barajas gets started, if I can. Unfortunately, we took these two items under Business and Finance out of order for good reason, but they were originally set to be in this order. While the district is obviously the beneficiary of ESSER funds, some of which the board approved tonight to be spent on retention for payment for staff, there is the other side of the equation, which is the ongoing side of the budget, and that is the general fund budget. And so as we typically do in February, we will bring Budget Amendment 2, and Tiffany has done a lot of work here, Dr. Barajas, and we're going to present to you essentially what we showed you 2 weeks ago when we tried to forecast this for the board and the impact of attendance on this general fund budget. There's been a lot of talk coming out of Austin about a promised adjustment and all kinds of stuff. None of that has materialized, and so we bring to the board what you saw 2 weeks ago, essentially. If that were to materialize, we would obviously analyze the impact of that and perhaps need to bring another adjustment. But I want to point out to the folks who are here talking, assuming that everybody's flush with money, that's very much a partial story. This is the ongoing budget of the school district that will need to pick up all of these costs once ESSER ends, lest they just completely be discontinued. So I want to echo something that I think Ms. Chumley said around thoughtful and conservative budgeting, not simply doing what everybody else does, but actually thinking it through and thinking about the impact to our system 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the line. That also has value. And while it doesn't necessarily make everybody happy in the moment, it is an important consideration for the work that we do, that we're able to continue to fund this district long-term, long after all of us are gone, that we provide high-quality education for children. That is our fiscal responsibility. With that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Barajas.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Woods. I'm not going to bury the lead here and basically say that if you look at where we were in November when we did Budget Amendment Number 1, taking revenues and expenses, we were at a $46.2 million deficit, which had gone up from 34.6 when you adopted the budget in August. So after Budget Amendment Number 2, we're at 46.7. So we didn't gain any ground, nor did we lose any ground. The reason is, while we are making an adjustment to state revenue because we are lowering our average daily attendance estimate, simply because of the numbers we're seeing, we're also lowering our budgeted expenditures. Now, this number is a bit different than what we showed you on the 8th of February, simply because what we showed you was a preview of where we think we may end the school year, August 31st. So rather than go in and go to campuses and departments and pull back their budgets based on where we think they're going to end up from an expenditure perspective, we are leaving capacity within the current budget for them to still operate. And there are a couple of colleagues of mine in this room who would, come into my office every day if I cut their budgets to where we think they're going to end up, four or five of them at least. So Again, we didn't lose any ground, nor did we gain any ground, but we are recognizing a probable decrease in state revenue, but at the same time, we're also recognizing a decrease in expenditures. But as Dr. Woods pointed out, if we hear from TEA and right before spring break that they're going to make an adjustment to ADA, meaning that there's a floor of ADA that they'll allow us to not go below, then we'll rework the numbers and come back to you potentially in April to say this is our best guess estimate where we are based on the latest information. So again, the revenues are predominantly adjusted because of state revenue. Nothing to do with local revenue necessarily, like we're not collecting taxes. In fact, our taxes are still coming in at higher percentages than what we were last year. And the expenditures are reflective of us pulling back on our budgeted expenditures. In addition, we also have, as we talked about, ESSER $2, that is the hold harmless, that we are able to reduce expenses this year, this fiscal year 21-22, by $19.9 million. So that's reflected in here as well.
Ms. Freeman, just real quick, I failed to recognize Esperanza, who's actually our Director of Budget, which I clearly should have done. Apologies.
She does the heavy lifting, and it filters through our, we kind of look at it just to make sure that we can articulate it in a couple of bullet points. I mean, it is quite a large budget, but all the back office work is done with Esperanza and her staff to get to the point where it's in the format right in front of you.
Okay. Any questions from any of the trustees? Is there a motion? Oh, excuse me. Mr. Lopez, this was in your committee.
Yeah, this was in Finance Committee, and, and it's to Dr. Woods' point that, we still got to look forward into, making sure that we're stable in the future. I certainly agree with that. So with that, I will go ahead and recommend that we I move that we approve the budget amendment 2. I'm sorry, let me write, the budget amendment number 2.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve budget amendment number 2 for fiscal year 2021 to 2022. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. Next item on the agenda is under administration, if I'm following this right. Review of legal policies and TASB update number 118, Mr. Galindo.
Yes, ma'am, and as we've done in the past, both the legal and local policies from update 118 will be presented by Naomi. The legals, of course, because they're in statute, are just for review, and then, of course, the locals, this is first reading. If there are any concerns, of course, we'll bring back those for second reading.
So before she dives in, I just want to say for the record that this is Ms. Miller's last board meeting with us. She has an excellent offer to do some government relations work in the private sector, and Naomi, as you know, was our first ever governmental relations person, and she has done incredible work, and they will be really tough shoes to fill. And I just wanted to say very as publicly as I can, perhaps to the group that understands her work better than anybody else, how thankful I am for her coming to Northside and all of the assets that she's brought us.
Wait, doesn't she need board approval? I want to discuss that, Madam President.
It's too good an offer to even arm twister.
Thank you.
We do appreciate, and we still have your phone. I think I still have your phone number, so.
Yes.
Yeah, she's not going anywhere. She's not getting away that easy.
All right.
Thank you. My last update, TASB update 118. We've been through this before. This was taken
Bet you're not sorry about that statement.
That's no comment. So this was taken as per tradition to the policy committee a couple weeks ago on February 9th. I forgot I'm running this show from here. So as always, we'll go over the legal policies. There were quite a few this time because we just got out of a legislative session. And then there are 11 local policies that we'll go over after that. Again, legal policies, there were 120 updates to policies. We had a very active legislative session last year, and I'm just going to highlight a few as I always do. You'll see some around board members, instruction, student mental health, and some other things. Friendly reminder, these are only up for discussion and not approval because they're set in law and we cannot amend them. The first one is regarding board legal status, BAA legal. Board governance has been moved from BAA to BA legal. It was revised to better reflect statutory wording. It also addresses a change from Senate Bill 1365, which is a big accountability bill, and there is a mention of the Board of Managers in that bill, and it just changed this legal policy to reflect that. Please stop me if you have questions. BBA legal had two clarifications. One of them was around felony convictions and for eligibility and service as a board member from Senate Bill 1540. Sorry, y'all teared me up just a little bit. So the application to run for board now includes a box you have to check regarding felony conviction status. So this is the update from that. It also made a revision from Senate Bill 1111 regarding residence, and that's a residence around the voter, not the board member. They updated and clarified a little bit around what you can use as your residence address when you're voting in a district. Okay, BBD legal adds clarification regarding, reflects updates from House Bill 690 regarding new school safety training for trustees. The School Safety Center is developing this curriculum, and actually the law says it had to be done by January 1st, but Mr. Galindo told me that's been pushed back to September 1st. So that'll come out.
Do we know how long that's going to be or what that looks like? Is that online training?
I believe
or?
it's 2 hours. Do you know if it's online?
I believe that's what they're working on, and I think it actually, Ms. Friedman, is going to be ready by September 1st. And then I forget the number of days after that that you have to.
That we'd have to do it.
I think you have 120 days to complete it from when it's, but I believe it's 2 hours.
We're probably one of the most trained group of trustees in the nation.
2 more hours.
Regarding citizen advisory committees, we're all very familiar with House Bill 1525, so BDF legal, thank you, addresses the new meeting requirements for SHACs. The posting of meetings, meeting minutes, and recordings is what was changed in BDF legal regarding SHACs. Under basic instructional program, required instruction, EHAA legal had several changes because of several pieces of legislation. The new required instruction on American patriotism, Texas history, and the free enterprise system out of House Bill 4509. The updates out of House Bill 1525 regarding human sexuality curriculum materials. And the updates on character education programs in Senate Bill 123. We will cover EHAA local later in the local update regarding the human sexuality curriculum materials and the requirements from that, from 1525. FFEB legal, you all have heard about this one before. I've probably updated you on it. Senate Bill 279 requires that any student ID card that's issued to a student now include contact information about the suicide prevention Lifeline crisis line. So this updates that legal policy from that bill. Do you have any questions about the legals?
No. Do I see any trustees have any questions? Of course, these are legal policies, and we don't approve or make any comment because we can do nothing about them, so except abide by them. Thank you, Naomi. Sure. I'm sorry? Mr. Blunt?
I was going to say, no, we can always, again, I bring these up. If we want to advocate for change for it to them, we can always do that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You're correct.
So we don't have to.
Thanks for that.
Thank you. So moving on to item B, which is the local policies. Like as I mentioned before, there are 11 local policy updates in 118. The first one is CQB local around technology resources and cybersecurity. This one has come up before. It's regarding cybersecurity training as a result of House Bill 1118 and Senate Bill 1267. This session, they've eliminated the annual training requirement, even though we are continuing that training. Correct? Yes. And it gives the superintendent authority to impose the consequences for failure to complete the training. It also revises how we report security breaches involving student information, and that was out of Senate Bill 1696. Around termination of employment and resignations, DFE local was guided by TEA to include that the board can designate another person besides the superintendent to receive a resignation. Added new text stating if the resignation is submitted to someone other than that person, that the supervisor will instruct the employee to submit it to the right person. And of course, the superintendent can delegate authority to accept resignation from at-will employees. Personnel positions and DP local. Senate Bill 179, I think again you may be familiar with this one, was the bill that mandates that school counselors use 80% of their time on their counseling duties. So DP local updated that one and also said that the board can direct the superintendent to revise the job description as needed for counselors. EHAA local, I mentioned the legal policy earlier, again around House Bill 1525. This basically updates, this is a new policy that has the steps regarding the resolution to convene the SHAC and how the SHAC recommendations are handled by the board afterwards. This was all in the new law, House Bill 1525. EHBC local is around House Bill 4545, which we've talked about many times before. The references for accelerated instruction and learning committees are revised in this local policy, directing the parents, because there is a part of 4545 about the grievance process or the complaint process. So this directs parents to our grievance process F&G, and it explains that parental requests for students to be assigned to a particular teacher shall be in accordance with our admin procedures. EIE local, again, 4545 from this past session removes grade advancement provisions for grades 5 and 8 and updates, this EIE is also updated because of Senate Bill 1697 regarding the option for retention in grades pre-K through 8. That was just for one school year. At the beginning of the next school year, that'll go to PK through 3. FDE local is on admissions. House Bill 375 amended the offense of continuous sexual abuse of a young child to now include a disabled individual. So that was just a small amendment to include those children. FEA local added text around Senate Bill 289, which basically creates an excused absence for a student to go get their driver's license and says that the student must submit verification for that absence. FEC local is also around attendance for credit. It revises the 90% attendance requirement to have an exemption from House Bill 699 for absences resulting from a life-threatening illness or serious injury. FFG local, House Bill 3379 adds the word reasonable to cause to believe when regarding reporting child abuse and neglect. And it also adds a reference to the definition for a person who is responsible for the care of a child. Last but not least, FL local, because of House Bill 4545, the old statement grade placement committee has been replaced with the new statement accelerated learning committee to follow the guidelines from House Bill 4545. And that is my last TASB update. With the sniffly nose, sorry.
We need another box of Kleenex. Any questions from any trustees? This is a first reading only, so it'll come back, I guess, I assume, our next board meeting.
Yes.
Maybe you'll have to come back. Hear that. For our next board meeting for possible approval. And if you have any questions as you review them, please talk to Mr. Galindo prior to that board meeting. And Dr. Woods, I'll have to ask for your advice. Are we going to be able to look at the next 3 items for approval? or-
Yeah, what, Mr., let me just a little background.
Thank you, Naomi.
Thank you. By way of background, we brought these policies, these 3 policies all deal with grievances of various groups, parents, community, employees. And the board asked for some clarifying language on 2 items. One was the definition of school days, and the other was some language around the kind of timely resolution of the grievances. So Mr. Galindo's got that language ready to show you for each of them. What we suggest is we show that to the board, see if there's any further questions or comments, and then we would treat them like we would any other second reading. Ms. Freeman, we would simply put them in a future meeting under consent for the board's consideration.
Okay. Mr. Galindo?
Yes, ma'am. So as Dr. Woods explained then, we did have 2 items, or edits, I should say, language related. And so the first one, as Dr. Woods pointed out, is on 2 of 8, and actually in your blue folders. I'm sorry, I should have started there. Rather than go through all 3 policies, I thought I'd pick one of them, show you the edits. They will be identical in all 3. And so in your folders, you have DGBA local, and on page 2 of 8, you can see the language there that we came up with to address timeliness, and of course it being done in a reasonable manner in terms of when we actually go through the process. So you'll see the language there, district response at all levels of this process be addressed and resolved in a reasonable and timely manner for those involved. So we felt that would cover everything in terms of from the employee to us, as well as the process goes along. The second is on page 3 of 8. And we were very specific, again, as we discussed in policy and with the full board in December, about what the definition of days is once the clock, if you will, starts ticking. And so days, anytime throughout all 3 grievances will be referred to, or when we refer to days, it'll be district business days. So if the school district is open, then that is considered a business day, and I'll use Monday as an example. For a holiday, however, our offices were open. And so, although children were not in school, we would consider that a district business day, and that would, again, in terms of any grievance timeline, would be an open day that they could submit and would be considered part of the days of. So those are the 2 edits in terms of language, and again, identical language is found in the other 2, which deal with the community patrons as well as parents. So if you are inclined, we can, as I said, or Dr. would put these under consent for next time and then have them approved.
Okay. Any questions or comments about anything? Okay, Mr. Galindo?
Thank you.
All right. So that was DGB.
That was actually all 3 of those,
Yeah.
Yeah,
GF,
okay,
F&G,
got it.
and DGBA.
Okay. All right. So next item on the agenda is the naming of Village at West Point North area. And I'll direct your attention to your notebooks that you have in front of you entitled School Name Nominations. Board members that are not here. So my suggestion to my fellow trustees would be to hold off and have discussion at our next meeting. But I'd like you to there are, as you can see, there have been 5 nominations. If there is anyone else that you would like to nominate, please get your nominations in to Ms. Guerra before the Friday before that meeting, whatever that happens to be. The Friday before the next. Okay, thank you, by March 22nd. And then we'll bring this back and discuss with the full board as to how we go from there. Any other thoughts or comments? That would just be my suggestion.
Just, Ms. Freeman, if we could, if there are going to be additional nominations from the board, that week before that particular meeting is that spring break week. So if we could get an indication of that there was going to be one and what that was at a minimum, we'd be able to have that conversation ahead of that time, and then supporting documents could come, right before the board meeting. But that Friday, the 11th, would be great for us to know that there are going to be additional nominations, if that's the case,
Okay,
just because of the timing.
all right. And then, since we have, I think, well, Ms. Chumley took hers, and we can get this to Joseph sometime. Okay. Let's see, next item on the agenda is our executive session. We're already there.
And we are ready to go. He can depart, whatever your preference.
We have very few items, so it would be my suggestion to have discussion here. The Board of Trustees on February 22nd, 2022, beginning at, let's give ourselves about a 10-minute break. So, and that clock is wrong. So 8:05, convene in closed meeting in accordance with Texas Government Code Section 551.074. And discussion will take place on the items in the agenda. Okay, the Board of Trustees on February 22nd, 2022, beginning at, I just closed my notebook. Dr. Time is it, please?
It is 8:09.
Beginning at 8:09 p.m., we'll convene an open meeting. Is there a motion to come before the board?
I move that we accept the recommendations for new positions as presented by Mr. Galindo.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the appointments as discussed in executive session. All those please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries, and we have one more? Okay, I'm sorry. Is there a motion?
I move we approve the item A as recommended by staff.
I'm sorry. I hate to do this. It's actually item B in open session. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, the consideration, okay. Okay. Can I go ahead and start it? Okay. I recommend that we approve the consideration concerning superintendent recommendation regarding administrative staff contracts.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the administrative staff contracts as discussed in executive session. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries, and this meeting is now adjourned.